We're finally here. We're finally here, everybody. The final chapter in this 20-part series. Yeah, I've made 20 videos. I need a record for that. And I've clocked in a lot of the time. It's over 12 hours. Yeah, I can be a little crazy, can't I? Anyways, we're here. We're finally going to talk about yet another big year for another superstar who already had a big debut year, and it's none other than AJ freaking Styles. And after his impressive run in WWE, since this is technically not his debut year, it's more like a re-debut year. Remember an old show called WWE Metal? Yeah, he was actually on that show. It's just that no one remembers it because no one cares as much as they used to. But yeah, yeah, I really was glad that Styles had this big year for 2016. Really did a lot of great things, and probably no wrestler will ever get that kind of success unless they're at the level of Styles, but that's really hard to do. Heading into that, Styles was poised for a big 2017. However, at the end of the year, despite doing an awesome match against Baron Corbin and Dolph Ziggler in a triple threat match on the final episode of SmackDown, which kicked Raw's ass in the ratings, much to Stephanie McMahon's anger, and was set off Vince because, you know, Ryan Moore was doing too much of a good job, Styles was poised once more to fight John Cena in the third of their trilogy of single matches, and then I was getting worried. Mostly because it's John Cena. So AJ Styles basically does what everyone knew, calls him out for being a hypocrite, and does this and that. And sure enough, Cena does his long, passionate speech about how he's not a hypocrite, even though he really is. And even Roman Reigns had to point this out, and yet Cena doesn't seem to get this. No matter what you say in an apology, people will look at your 4-year bashing of The Rock, and seeing what you're doing now is hypocritical. Like, you can't, like the Jedi in Star Wars, you can't really apologize after, what, 1,000 generations of destruction? So, yeah, I will not go into that. So, yeah. And then, heading into the Royal Rumble, everyone was really freaking out over why his Styles not on the poster. Well, he is on the poster, he's just really in the background for some reason. Now, you see, he was like at the end of the line of people that were on that poster, and that annoyed me a little bit, not at the level it was getting from fans, but I was always wondering, so let's see if I get this straight. You're gonna hold the lazy, won't care, just is in it for the money Brock Lesnar, a temporal Goldberg who can't make long matches, all due respect to him, a Hollywood hypocritical sellout like John Cena who will suck up and kill everything that's good in the world regarding momentum and careers, and a legendary Undertaker phenom that has kicked ass but his body's catching up to him. You say that those guys are all more important than the goddamn WWE title or the Universal title? Like, even Roman Reigns wasn't even in the front row. He was in the middle between Goldberg and Undertaker in the second row. Like, even Kevin Owens was in the second row, and I'm like, the Universal title wasn't even that big yet, and the booking they did with him really did not help. So, yeah, I was like annoyed with this, but like, don't get me wrong, I like those 4 guys, not as much as Cena, but I like the 3 guys I mentioned, Taker, Goldberg, and Lesnar, but even they have their flaws. Like Undertaker, he has longevity and he can still do still do a long match, whereas Goldberg can't for some reason. Well, it's physicality and the fact that he hasn't wrestled in a long time kind of adds up to that with the ring rust. But but Brock Lesnar, he just doesn't want to do it unless it's someone he likes. So, Yeah, I was a little annoyed by that, but it wasn't at the level fans were making it out to be, and some fan even jokingly photoshopped Styles' face everywhere to make it compensate for all the people that were complaining. And I was like, oh man, it would be kind of funny if Styles actually addressed that on television. Oh my god, Styles addressed that on television. Oh my god, they did that. They really did. See, this is why I say Ryan Ward is such a great writer. He looks at the internet and says, okay, what can we do with the fans to build up to our stories? We can add some more aesthetics to it. Fans are complaining about this poster. Oh, okay, we'll add that. Styles' character is an arrogant person who believes he should be the face. Yeah, that makes sense. That could fit into his character. And they put it in there. Ryan Ward is doing more with aesthetics and details than Vince McMahon has, and that only further makes Vince mad. And sure enough, Cena has to give more of a passionate speech and act like a complete hypocritical idiot, and Styles is just forced into silence, much to everyone's annoyance, from Mr. Hustle, Loyalty, Hypocritical Respect. But, yeah. So yeah, I knew Cena was going to win. This title match was too important for Vince to not give in to Cena's love for egotistical, politicianly destroying a legacy of what the tiniest things that people remember Ric Flair for, and now they have to associate with John Cena to that extent. So, okay, I knew that was going to happen, but I was like, okay, can the match be at least great? Like, I know it's Styles and Cena, but can we get a great match? Okay, this might be a little controversial, but I'm honestly probably in the minority that absolutely hated the match at Royal Rumble. Oh, not because of the match's quality. It was great. Really amazing. Match of the year worthy, but it's nowhere near the level of Kazuchika Okada and Kenny Omega, which they kept saying that was the reason why they were trying to put so much into that match. It's just that when I look at that match, I'm thinking, is this Rock and Cena 2? Twice in a lifetime? Because that was the vibe I kept getting when I was watching the match. I watched that, then I watched the SummerSlam match, and really, nothing changed. That's the vibe I got. It felt more like they recycled the whole match, did the exact same thing, they just slapped in an alternative ending to it. Except now there's a WWE title on the line. So, yeah, as much as people like to bash WWE for having horrible matches, I honestly think the worst kind of match could be having basically the same goddamn match, like, in complete loop, but with a different ending. I feel like that's the worst thing you could probably book. So, here's the thing. I will not deny the match was great, match of the year worthy, but when I look at that match, I'm just thinking it's the same match. It's just for the title, and it just has a different ending. It just feels like the same thing. So, that led to me really not feeling like Cena really did anything. Like, here's the thing. At least CM Punk and Cena had a bunch of matches between 2011 to 2013. Their matches at least felt different. They added new stuff to it. And, yeah, it was mostly for the title, but still it added something different to it. Like, let's add in Paul Heyman. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's add in the Shield. Let's add in this. And yet they still made out great matches. It didn't feel like they had completely different stuff. It felt like they weren't trying to do a rehash and then just slap in an alternative ending to it. Heck, their final match together, I even added the forbidden pile driver that only The Undertaker and Kane could do because the pile driver was banned from WWE. And Cena did a Hurricanrana. Yeah. So, why couldn't they try and pull something different with the Royal Rumble match? It just really made me look like I was watching Rock and Cena again, but whereas that match wasn't the best like their first encounter, it felt like I was watching the same match. It just had a different ending. They even repeated what cost Cena the loss at WrestleMania 28. They just slapped in the alternative ending. And honestly, that, in my opinion, really makes that match not really great for me. Like, Kazuchika Okada and Kenny Omega, they kept adding stuff to their matches. They had some of the same things, but they also put in a lot of new things in their trilogy. I'll be going over those one day, but yeah, that's why everyone looks at these 3 matches where Kazuchika Okada and Kenny Omega as masterpieces. Like, but when you put in a same match over and over and over and just have a slapped-on alternative ending that feels not earned, it just comes across as shallow for me. So, yeah. And sure enough, Randy Orton would win the Royal Rumble. SmackDown would get a huge boost of momentum. They have a historical 16-title reign. That lasted 2 weeks. Yeah. For you see, on February 12th, heading into Elimination Chamber, Styles would once again keep demanding he is owed a single rematch, one-on-one rematch clause in his contract, but instead got shoved into the Elimination Chamber match, starting at number 2 and seen at number 1, or the other way around, but still they were the first participants, with Bray Wyatt, Baron Corbin, IC Champion Dean Ambrose, and The Miz for the Ultimate WWE Championship, where he lasted until the final 2 before being eliminated by Wyatt, who became the champion. Now, a lot of people were wondering, wait, why was Cena's historic 16-title reign just filler, pretty much? Like, you could have cut that out and nothing would have changed. You could have just let the title to Styles and end his reign with an additional 2 weeks, and he would have had 54 days? Why? Well, a report that came out that said that for some reason Vince in his stupidity made up this idea that Wyatt's win as the world champion should be taken more seriously in terms of like going ahead and seeing seriousness, because they wanted... Okay, I'm trying to find a way to explain this. It's confusing. They wanted Wyatt to be seen as this ultimate force since they were building him back up, even though that doesn't make sense now because they wrecked it like weeks later at WrestleMania. But Styles, for some reason, wasn't the champion because Cena, they wanted to just shove this to the side and not take it as seriously, except this is a historical moment, a huge bastardization moment, but still historical. And all I'm wondering is, wait, why couldn't you eliminate Styles and then Wyatt and Cena could have just thrown down? Like, I'm not saying the last several minutes between Styles and Wyatt was awesome, it was, but Wyatt and Cena, that really should have been the last 2. Like, it could have given Wyatt that such justified revenge on Cena for what he did to him back in 2014. And led to his horrible downward spiral, and now Wyatt gets revenge by finally taking what Cena worked so hard to build, and with politicking and all that couldn't stop him because the power of Ryan Ward compels him. So, yeah. I'm still confused with that decision. But, yeah. So, on the following episode of SmackDown Live, with Wyatt praising himself and the fans following him, saying, Bray Wyatt is saying, I have the whole damn world in my hands, which was pretty awesome. Styles kept trying to make the claim that, yes, I deserve a rematch for the title one-on-one, and sure enough, Cena also claims that he deserves a rematch one-on-one for the title. So, okay, this could have led to 2 things. One, we're going to get a triple threat match, but the clauses would could be enacted later, or we could get 2 separate single matches between Styles and Wyatt and Cena and Wyatt. Sure enough, Shane went for the triple threat match, much to Styles' frustration. And sure enough, Wyatt defeated both by pinning Cena. Vengeance! And then Randy Orton relinquishes his challenge opportunity against Wyatt at WrestleMania 33 for the WWE Championship. The following week, a Battle Royale, a 10-man one that would feature Styles, was set up to determine Orton's replacement. Styles lasted up as the last 2 and was eliminated together with Luke Harper, thus concluding the match to a draw and asking for a match between Styles and Harper to determine the winner and challenger. everyone didn't know what was going to happen. A lot of people were kind of wondering where this was going. A lot of people were wondering they wanted Styles to win, but at the same time, Wyatt and Harper has a great chemistry with each other, and plus if you add in Orton, since that clearly is going to happen, they could do the triple threat match. They didn't do that. Instead, they went a different direction where they said Styles defeating Harper twice, despite Shane's intent to stop trying to make things right, but ultimately that failed. But then Orton betrays Wyatt and reclaims his right to the face Wyatt at WrestleMania, leading to a match between Styles and Orton for the #1 contendership, which Styles lost. And sure enough, he was pissed off. So, following the fact that he doesn't have a WrestleMania opportunity, he confronts Shane backstage during Talking Smack, leading to a hostile environment. And then sure enough, Styles on March 14th, prepares to go out and actually address his frustrations with logical consistency. Like, Orton committing arson and all that BS. How he had to go through several matches just so he can finally get his one-on-one opportunity that he is still contractually obligated to be given. And they still haven't done that. He also brought up the fact that he was shoved into the Elimination Chamber when it should have been one-on-one. There have been 2 different title holders, and therefore he still hasn't been given his title opportunity yet. And now he has to play second fiddle to Orton because logic dictates that. So, following that, Styles says he and Shane are going to have a very tense discussion, which ended with him slamming Shane McMahon slamming his head into the window of a parked car, which for some reason has a camera inside. Yeah. So after that, Styles was being talked to by several of the heels, telling him, dude, that was a stupid idea. Why'd you do that? You're going to get fired. And sure enough, Styles prepares to walk out, but then Daniel Bryan grabs a hold of him and tells him how he's lost respect for Styles and how... And then he fires him in storyline for his actions before having security escort him out of the building. Yeah, and several days, and later that night, Shane would return to the arena and stated that he would face Styles at WrestleMania 33 on April 2nd, which led to WWE actually in more continuity. Oh my God, what the hell's going on here? They decide to cut Styles off of the SmackDown Live roster and put him in the alumni position. And then because Shane McMahon during this was saying that he wants Styles back, they put him back in there. And yeah, some people might say that was pointless, but honestly, I kind of commend Ryan Ward for putting more details into making this look like it's a real thing. So yeah, they're trying to make it as realistic as can be. And I'm sure they could have done something, like, I would have loved if Shane McMahon threatened, like, he could have, like, put his title as commissioner of SmackDown on the line, because even he was saying at the time that he didn't know how long this commissioner angle would last. So I was assuming that maybe this might be the moment Shane might decide to drop his title as commissioner if he could fight Styles. That would have actually been more impactful, but... yeah, the fact that that didn't happen, and we still got a kick-ass match between Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon because the storyline didn't happen, I really don't know how to say this. So, sure enough, Styles and Shane McMahon would have an okay build-up. I was wondering, when is the hardcore match stipulation going to be added in? It's never added in. Yeah, they never added in a weapon-based matchup, which concerned me how this match would go. Like, it's Styles, but Shane McMahon, he is not really known for doing a technical wrestling match. His wrestling style is more hardcore-based, as indicated from everything he's done in the past. But surprisingly, Styles and him actually put on a pretty hell of a great match at WrestleMania on April 2nd. Yeah, they kept trying to put in some hardcore elements with the referee knocked out, which still led me to wonder why didn't they just put a street fight stipulation on there. But it was still a pretty good match. Certain creative liberties had to be taken, but still. And surprisingly, they were the opening match. Reminds me of Chris Jericho versus Styles, except Styles lost at that. which I still question why. And then 2 days later, Styles made reconciliation with Shane McMahon via handshake and thus turned back into a fan favorite. This was before the big superstar shakeup. And sure enough, Styles had said he does not want to leave SmackDown because around this time, I didn't talk about this in the Roman Reigns video because it mostly related to Styles, but there was sayings that they might want to switch Styles to Raw and Reigns to SmackDown, which led to a lot of confusion, like why? And here's the thing, and this led to me wondering something else. If they did that, they would have to take Brock Lesnar to SmackDown because they want Reigns versus Lesnar, because that's actually been planned before WrestleMania 33, so this has been going on for over a year now. But they weren't going to do that, so they scrapped that idea, but there was still a chance Styles might go to Raw, and they might trade him with something else. Like maybe a Seth Rollins, but they indicated that that wasn't the case, and Styles said he wants to stay on SmackDown. And sure enough, there was this moment on Talking Smack after, I believe on April 11th, where he defeats Baron Corbin and Sami Zayn to become number one contender for Kevin Owens' U.S. Championship. Here's the thing. There was a promo he cut on Talking Smack where he claims that SmackDown makes the stars and Raw just simply takes them. And when I look at that, I think to myself, I think he's actually right. Like, really think about this. Like, here's the thing. There has been a lot of indication that Raw doesn't like to make stars because that hurts their brain for some reason, but they like to take all the SmackDown stars and send all their rejects to them. Just say, hey, can you make these stars for us, and we'll take these back and bring back our other rejects for you to build, and then we'll take them as well and switch out with our other rejects. Yeah, is that a good idea? Okay, yeah, this is a good idea. Yeah, I think they're actually right. Think about it. Between the original brand extension days, they mostly kept switching out people. Like, they mostly traded in all the talented guys they had and all for the more popular guys. Like, Triple H and Chris Jericho were on SmackDown. Then they got moved to Raw. They never went back to SmackDown. So, let's see. They also traded, who else? And Triple H was supposed to go to SmackDown, but he did not want to work Tuesdays, according to Paul Heyman. And they traded, Eric Bischoff traded the Dudley Boys, and I think a third guy, just so they could get, just so they could keep Triple H on Raw. Yeah. And then the SmackDown 6 guys that they created with Eddie Guerrero, Chris You-Know-Who, I'm trying to remember who the other guys were, but eventually all of them were planned to go to Raw. All of them did go to Raw. One stayed, and and Eddie Guerrero sadly passed away before he could move to Raw, because originally they were considering doing a Shawn Michaels versus Eddie Guerrero match at WrestleMania where Eddie Guerrero would defend the World Heavyweight Championship, which would have been an awesome match, I guarantee it. But that clearly would have meant he would have to move to Raw, and they would have to trade the world title of WWE and go and take it to SmackDown. Or they might just do Shawn Michaels win the World Heavyweight title somehow and have Eddie Guerrero move to Raw. But unless it does highlight that SmackDown seems like it just creates the stars and Raw just takes them. And this leads to one familiar thing whenever I saw that. I think I know where Styles wants to go with this. He basically wants to be what The Undertaker was for the old brand extension. He wants to make SmackDown his yard. Where, remember, Undertaker said that SmackDown has always been his home? Because, really think about this. After his Undisputed Championship run in 2002, where did he go? He went to SmackDown. Like, yeah, he showed up on Raw a couple of times, but that was mostly when they did merged episodes. But, really think about it. He was with SmackDown till the end of his full-time run. He was starting out on SmackDown. He ended his full-time career on SmackDown. So, yeah, in his last wrestling match on free television was on SmackDown with Dean Ambrose. So that might indicate that Styles might want to do that as well. He wants to be what The Undertaker was to SmackDown, which is kind of an honorable path, and I understand that. So sure enough, this would kickstart a feud with Kevin Owens and Styles. Moving on from that, at Backlash, Styles lost his match to Kevin Owens for the U.S. Championship by countout after Owens got Styles' leg trapped in an announce table. Surprisingly, I was expecting Kevin Owens to just count himself out. But sure enough, they go ahead and do something actually creative. And that was the match that stole the show. And then at Money in the Bank, leading up to Money in the Bank, we sure enough got a teased match that everyone wants to see. Shinsuke Nakamura versus AJ Styles. They teamed up together a couple of times heading into Money in the Bank. And then sure enough, everyone freaked out when they were all by themselves in the middle of the ring, ready to fight. And sure enough, everyone wants to see it. They want to see the long-awaited sequel to Wrestle Kingdom's match between Styles and Nakamura. So, yeah, that's good. That will be awesome, though I'm pretty sure Vince will screw it up somehow because he hates the word wrestling, even though wrestling is basically in the company. But Vince doesn't know that. He's kind of incompetent. So, after that, he failed to win the Money in the Bank contract. However, Styles would once again become #1 contender for Owens' championship. A title match was set for Battleground. However, Styles would defeat Owens during a WWE Live event at Madison Square Garden on July 7th to capture the U.S. Championship for the first time in his career, which was confusing. And then, even more confusing and makes this moment more pointless, is Styles would lose the title back to Owens. And here's the thing about that. I mentioned this in the Kevin Owens video, but this was said to have been completely botched. And there was even a word going around that originally Vince changed the match mid-match. He changed it in the middle of the freaking match. I wonder how pissed off everyone was at that night. Like, wondering what just happened. In fact, how did you even get away with that? Like, Styles probably was wondering. I wouldn't be surprised if Styles was jokingly thinking, I'm going to have to smash another McMahon through the car hood again. Through the car window again, so, yeah. Everyone was confused, like, this match ended really weird. That's what I kept hearing, but, yeah. I don't know what happened. So, 2 days later, and surprisingly I would be back in time for my trip in Colorado, Styles would face off with Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens for the U.S. title, and he got the victory and became a 2-time U.S. champion, making Battlegrounds match completely pointless and actually pinned Jericho and not Kevin Owens, which would lead as successfully defending the title 2 more times against Ty Dillinger after Kevin Owens ended with some controversy with Shane McMahon as the special guest referee at SummerSlam. And I did love during the build-up that they referenced something that happened in the 90s, you know, that period of wrestling where Vince doesn't like to talk about it because that was the moment where he was not in complete control and micromanaged everything to hell. And Styles even showed his old heel side when he said that if Shane does screw him, he'll just do what he did to him at WrestleMania and on March 14th. So after this, Styles would once again revive Cena's horrible U.S. Open Challenge. And here's the thing, heading into SummerSlam, there was even a report that they were going to consider doing Styles versus Cena again. I was really against that because, yeah, I just did not like that Royal Rumble match since it was just a recycle of the SummerSlam match just with a different ending. So, yeah. So, I refuse to call it Cena's Open Challenge. I call it the U.S. Open Challenge since that was his original meaning. He would successfully defend the title 2 times against Ty Dillinger, who was also in a rivalry with Baron Corbin about who should answer Styles' challenge, leading to a triple threat match, surprisingly, at Hell in a Cell on October 8th. Where, surprisingly more, Styles lost to Corbin, who pinned Ty Dillinger, thus ending his reign at 75 days. So, after that, and he tried to go ahead and have a match with Baron Corbin on SmackDown Live, which was surprisingly awesome, and one of the key main events, Styles would start a rivalry with WWE Champion Jinder Mahal by confronting and attacking him, who had just made his declaration to challenge the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar. And, yeah, here's the thing. He said that Jinder Mahal has never defeated Styles. Well, that's not true. Jinder Mahal has beaten you. It was right before he became champion. So, yeah, you have a leg to stand on that. And also, the only other guy he hasn't beaten is really John Cena, unfortunately for all of us. So, yeah, keep deluding yourself on that. So, this would kickstart a feud since Jinder Mahal can't really do a goddamn thing with Brock Lesnar. During that time, Styles also showed up at the Raw exclusive event TLC because Bray Wyatt got sick, and luckily for us, we didn't have to see the horrible gimmicky match of Sister Abigail, aka Bray Wyatt, aka going all Norman Bates on us from Psycho, or Bates Hotel. Yeah. He would compete against Finn Balor, which was a pretty awesome match, and they ended it with the Too Sweet gesture, which WWE for some reason showcased as the header for their Twitter page, which I think was a personal FU to the Young Bucks. Like, not Styles and Balor doing it, they kept saying that they were doing it out of respect for each other and out of kind of nostalgic feeling for them. But when WWE did it, it felt, when WWE made that the head page, I was wondering, well, considering what happened with the Young Bucks around this time and the WWE, why don't I get the feeling WWE's trying to wreck that and turn it into more like an ad attack on the Young Bucks for some reason? Because they're saying, we own the trademark, even though the Young Bucks never said they owned it. They're just borrowing it from Kevin Nash because he gave them permission, including Scott Hall. Triple H didn't seem to give a care. Shawn Michaels doesn't seem to give a care. Xbox doesn't care if they use the Too Sweet gesture. And Kevin Nash said that he never made that gesture. He got it from somebody. So even now, Vince doesn't have a leg to stand on this legal stuff and saying WCW made it even though it was around before that. So shouldn't it go to the guy who came up with it? And even then, I'm pretty sure the guy is long dead since apparently that was symbolizing a wolf pack thing from like a more different time. So it was passed down and became a hand symbol for funding over-the-top Too Sweetness. But moving on from that, I do not want to go into the history of that yet. I need to gather more research if I ever made a video about that. And then following TLC, Styles made a return to Raw for the first time since 2016, teaming up with tag team champions Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins to defeat The Miz and The Bar, and later that night be involved in a Under Siege angle alongside other SmackDown talents, ambushing Raw wrestlers leading into Survivor Series on behalf of SmackDown Commissioner Shane McMahon. So, yeah, here's the thing. Styles was originally heading into Survivor Series as part of Team SmackDown, where he was supposed to fight Rusev on November 7th. That got cut in favor of a WWE Championship match between him and Mahal. And that was that gave people hope that this might be it. They might change the plan. So here's the thing. Styles would defeat Mahal. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah. And here's the historical significance of that. Styles not only won the WWE title for the second time, but this marked the first time since 2003 in September of 2003 that the title changed hands on SmackDown. And claiming and also becoming recognized by WWE as the first title holder crowned outside of North America. Now, here's the thing, that's unofficial. There is an unofficial first person to do it. It was Antonio Inoki. I'm pretty sure I pronounced that wrong. Had won the title back in Japan in 1979, but this reign is unrecognized by WWE for some reason. So yeah, that was the quote true crown outside of North America reign, but they don't want to talk about that for some reason. I still don't know the full story. But with that win, we would not get Mahal versus Lesnar, where the only thing we would get out of that match is Lesnar dominating the Singh brothers in every single way possible and throwing them far across into the crowd. Instead, we would get an awesome match with Brock Lesnar and Styles, with Lesnar actually putting in effort for once in a long time because he wanted to work with Styles, not Mahal. Like, he didn't want to work with Strowman, and yet he did not put in any effort. He just did 2 moves, and that's it. Yeah. So, that was a pretty awesome match. But it does highlight my problem with Lesnar in terms of his clout in WWE. So, yeah. The only reason that match was as great as it is because Lesnar actually wanted to put in the effort because he likes Styles. If this was Mahal or anyone else, he would not have cared. He would have just said, well, I'm already getting paid, so I really don't care. And now, with Styles, it's like, oh my god, I'm finding Styles. Well, screw the money. I'm like, that's awesome, but I'm going to work with Styles. So I'm going to actually try for once. So, yeah, following that, since that loss happened, Styles would finally finish his feud with Jinder Mahal at Clash of Champions via submission to retain the title. Yes! And sure enough, that was awesome and an epic way to end the Jinder Mahal push, because at least Jinder Mahal went out with a bang instead of what could have been the whimper that everyone had feared it would be. Or got the more pissed off ending where Jinder Mahal would win the match, but thank God that didn't happen. So now it looks like Styles is home free, ending the year off of 2017. But there is a conclusion. You see, Styles' next feud came with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, the newly reunited best of friends, the brothers of the independent scene, who he kept losing matches back-to-back with due to interferences. As a result, Daniel Bryan made a handicap championship match for the Royal Rumble for 2018. Yay! He's screwed. Maybe. Not really. Heading into that, it was reported that Fastlane, since that's going to be a SmackDown pay-per-view, it's going to be, okay, here's the thing. There was word going around that Styles will retain the title at Royal Rumble and will defend it in a fatal 5-way match with him, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and Shinsuke Nakamura. But after that, we don't know where is it going to go regarding, where is all this going to go with WrestleMania. There was speculation that it might be Cena, which I seriously hope wasn't, and thank God it's not. But sadly, we might get a far worse moment. The immediate final end to The Undertaker. Can we just not have Cena at the show? I really don't want him on the show at this point. Like, he's not Hulk Hogan in terms of hatefulness that I could get and rant. Mostly because of comments he made on Twitter regarding a hurricane disaster, but that's a different matter. So, Styles, once again, has a great 2017, has a great year in WWE, a full year, I must stress. So he's 2-0 in terms of debut years of wrestling years in WWE that are actually phenomenal. And finally, I can say I am now finished with these year's retrospective activities of wrestling, and also with the bonus Wrestle Kingdom video. So that means 20 videos have been produced. I am simply crazy, aren't I? So, Styles looks like he's headed for another phenomenal year in 2018, but I really hope we get him a bigger phenomenal year. And sure enough, he was given Wrestler of the Year. Let's see, his achievements with fans. He got put in the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Fame of 2017. He was made Wrestler of the Year by, I believe, Pro Wrestling Illustrated. I could be wrong on that. Yeah, he got Most Popular and Wrestler of the Year. So, yeah, that's a huge achievement. And yeah, there's a lot of great matches he performed in. No one is ever going to say otherwise about Styles. I can't think of one person that hates Styles. Okay, maybe Vince Russo, but that's a different matter. So, yeah, this has been a great year for Styles. I can't wait what he's going to do for 2018. And I seriously hope he main events WrestleMania with Shinsuke Nakamura. Or okay, here's the thing I did hear. I forgot to mention this because it came out a few days ago, and this was after the Finn Balor video. But there's word going around that Finn Balor might actually win the Royal Rumble, but go to SmackDown to challenge Finn Balor for the to challenge AJ Styles for the WWE Championship in one of the key main events. And I was like, yes! Like, it's the perfect compromise in my mind. Like, Vince doesn't have to go ahead and have Lesnar beat him because in his mind, Finn Balor's not over enough for Lesnar because that's stupid. But Reigns clearly is, according to Vince. But he is over for a world title run, but fighting Styles. So, I get the feeling Vince sees this more like a consolation prize instead of, you know, a better achievement than you could have gotten with having Finn Balor versus Lesnar. But yeah, I will say I can't wait for that. I really hope they do that plan, but like I said, plans could change and they can wreck everything in the face of 20 seconds right now. They probably change plans like right as I'm speaking. But looking forward to what he has in store for us. I don't know how long, if he does drop the title to Finn Balor at WrestleMania, if everything I just said is true, I will be surprised by that. But at the same time, I will also say, if it's not going to be Finn Balor, who should he drop the title to? Not Cena. I do not want him to do another match that is the same match but has the same ending, just for Cena to go ahead and get his Fantasy 7 record-breaking run as world champion. So, moving on from that, I will finally end this 20-part Thoughts video series out with the house that AJ Styles built, and finally say this was Neo Reality Entertainment. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate, and to do for more. And by God, let's hope for a phenomenal year.